President Joe Biden is battling an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Tonight, President Trump is making his first on-camera remarks about that diagnosis.
I think it's very sad, actually. I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago. The test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed, and I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor.
Tonight, Democrats are pushing back.
It seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer, there are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward at a time when they actually are taking health care away from the American people.
Fox's Rebecca Castor has more on the former president's prognosis and more reaction from Washington.
Former President Biden sharing his first message on X Monday morning since his cancer diagnosis was revealed. Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support.
He is a fighter, and he is somebody who is relentlessly optimistic.
Biden's office announced Sunday he was diagnosed just before the weekend with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, which has metastasized to the bone.
I can't tell you for sure, but he didn't just get this overnight. He's had this for months and months. Even if it is aggressive, it's a Gleason 9, which means under the microscope, group 5, under the microscope, it's quite aggressive.
Biden's last official medical exam as president was in February of last year, when his doctor gave him a clean bill of health. Experts say it's uncommon to do the prostate-specific antigen test for men over 70, but the president of the United States is not your average patient.
You can miss prostate cancer, but most of the time, regular screening picks it up. A sitting president, I would expect to have advanced screening.
Biden's diagnosis comes as Democrats are facing fierce criticism over how the party handled last year's election, and a new book comes out tomorrow on their alleged attempts to cover up Biden's mental decline.
It's painfully obvious President Biden should not have run.
Biden's office says even though this is an aggressive form of cancer, there are treatments available, and President Biden and his family are reviewing options. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Our Fox 11 medical contributor, Dr. Michael Daigneault, joins us now with more on President Biden's cancer diagnosis. Let's start with this whole idea that there was, a cover-up. That's what President Trump is saying. How was he just diagnosed last week?
Right.
What do we know about that?
I think what most people are missing in this whole discussion is that the testing for prostate cancer, the PSA blood test, the recommendation is that after 70, you don't do it routinely anymore because it's so slow growing. You're probably going to die of something else. It ends up, if you detect it, the treatment might be just more invasive and just affect your quality of life too much. So my educated presumption is that President Biden and his doctor made a decision after 70 to just not do the PSA testing anymore. And so here we are 8 years later, now that he's 78, it's had many years to grow and develop.
Because we know that Presidents Bush, Obama, and Trump all did the PSA when they were president. Their doctors did the PSA and released the results. Biden never released results, which indicate either he never took the test or he took the test and didn't want to release the results of the test. But is that sort of odd or strange that somebody who is the sitting president of the United States would not take the test?
Well, in those last 4 years, he was over 70, right? So it's not too strange. But you also have to remember that, even though it's slow growing, you can get to the stage where he is now with the Gleason score of 9. Like the treatment options are actually pretty good. Because it's already metastasized, he's not eligible for anything curative, meaning he's probably not going to have a prostatectomy where they remove the prostate. His treatment's going to be a combination of chemo, radiation, and hormone therapy. And they already said that his particular cancer is hormone sensitive, meaning that he can take testosterone blocking medications because prostate cancer fuels on testosterone. So he's got a lot of great options.
So what does that mean? So first off, the Gleason 9 score That's out of 10, right?
Out of 10, yes.
And 9 is about as bad as it gets. 10 is the worst that it gets. So that's a scary thought. You say, though, there are ways to treat this, not cure it. So if he starts blocking testosterone, what does that mean for him just as a man? I mean, obviously, all men have testosterone in them. How does that, help his function?
Yeah, so going back to the Gleason score of 9, it basically indicates that there's already metastases, in his case, to the bone, and that's the most common place for prostate cancer to spread outside of the prostate. So, testosterone blocking therapy is not a walk in the park. Especially for guys, like his energy is going to be really low. He's going to be weak. It's not going to be fun. So it's going to be tough. But the prognosis still in this case, because physically he's been very healthy. I think he will do fine.
Meaning, what chance of life for another 5 years?
Yeah, I think he will survive this and go on to live however many number of years. This is probably not going to be the thing that's going to end his life, for example. I think they caught it to a point where it is still very treatable. Again, not curable, but very treatable. And
so for people that are like, oh, he's got a matter of weeks or months or things like that, that's not what you're talking about here.
No, and just again to make the recommendation that I think this cutoff of 70, we need to really look at this, because it's almost like ageism, right? Because people are living beyond 70 very healthy lives for 10, 20 more years. And so we really have to look at whether that should be the cutoff. I mean, we should expand it, honestly.
Yeah, we've been hearing that from a lot of different urologists in the last few days.
Yeah.
That recommendation doesn't really make that much sense.
Especially not in this case. And, just a reminder that if you've had first-degree relatives who have had prostate cancer, you're going to start getting tested at 40.
Because there really are not symptoms for most people. I mean, Biden only had these symptoms because he started having pain peeing.
Right.
But for years, a lot of prostate cancer is asymptomatic, right?
Totally asymptomatic. And like I said, you could go on for many number of years, not have any symptoms, never know about it, and die of something else not related to prostate cancer.
Wow. All right, Dr. Daniel, thanks for the insight. There's a lot of people speculating that don't really know what they're talking about right now. So we appreciate the information.
My pleasure.
All right.